If I could have everybody's attention, please. I'd like to take a few minutes just to thank everybody for attending this, our inaugural Harvard Healthcare Symposium. I'd like to thank the many people that have traveled quite some distances. I've noticed on the guest list that we have folks from Ireland, from Japan, from Switzerland, amongst other places, and even as far away as Texas, I would say, Travis. I've heard about Texas Irish tonight as well. I'd like to recognize the commitment of our parent company, Condair, in terms of believing in the idea of bringing together and bridging the gap between patient care, administration, and the built or hospital environments, which is something that we truly believe in within Nortec, and Condair does on a global basis. And from that point of view, our CEO, Mr. Oliver Zimmerman, is here this evening and will be participating tomorrow. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Derek Feeley. Derek is the CEO and head of IHI, the Institute for Healthcare Improvement. I had the great privilege of making my first visit to their conference in Florida in December, and was very impressed by the level of commitment and the impact that the IHI has not only on a national level, but also on a global level. Derek is a Scot, and since my name is Duncan, and I think I'm Anglo-Scottish, I'm allowed to pull his leg. I'm not afraid to wear the plaid. But Derek has had a very distinguished career, not only here in the United States, but also back in the UK, or Scotland, I guess, depending on whether you're a nationalist or not, and was involved with the National Health Services in Scotland, and from the Anglo side is actually a member of the Order of the Bath. For those of you that are aware, this is an incredible honor for anybody to receive. At least I assume it was an honor for a Scotsman to receive, Derek. And as such, represents a significant service in the UK to the national healthcare, and also, I guess, to the promotion of patient safety, efficiencies, and all of the different values that the IHI stands for. So with that, I'd like to introduce Derek, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Duncan. I think I can safely say of all the introductions I've ever had, that was easily the most recent. So I found this quite a challenging talk to prepare, because we're going to talk about a serious subject, but I'm also conscious you're standing there, many of you, with a beer or a glass of wine in your hand, and the last thing you want is some guy with a strange accent boring you for 20 minutes. And I do kind of feel like a bit like this. Because, firstly, I won't be with you tomorrow, and I'm also conscious there's much more expertise in this room than I could ever muster. I showed this slide the other day at IHI, and one of our staff came up to me, Carol, that's really her name, I'm not protecting her identity. She says, "Derek, there's something wrong with your slide." And I went, "Oh, Carol, tell me." She said, "You would never see a polar bear and a penguin on the same ice cap." There's a penguin with cymbals, and the other one carrying a purse at the back. You think, what's wrong with the slide? Mine's much differently, I suppose. And I hope you've eaten. But I want to tell you a story. I want to start by telling you a story. This story comes from Hanoi in Vietnam in French colonial times. And the French administration had a very laudable aim. They wanted to reduce the rat population in Hanoi. And so they did so by placing a bounty on the rat's tail. So you could get a few dollars of the local currency if you handed in to the authorities the tail of a rat. This all worked reasonably well for a little while, and then the administration started to see a lot of rats running about with no tails. And you can guess what was happening. They were chopping the tail off the rat, releasing the rat back to the sewers. Rats were doing what rats do when they get to the sewer. They were procreating, and the answer was more rats. A very laudable aim, but a means to secure that progress that didn't work in that complex environment. There was no straight line solution for them. And we see the same in healthcare. So this is data from Accident and Emergency Department in a country that we'll not name. It's England. And you can see laudable aim. Let's reduce the amount of time that people are waiting in accident and emergency. And their solution, we will set a target of no more than a 4-hour wait. And then you can see what happens at 3 hours and 58 minutes. And that is a lot of people get admitted to the hospital that probably don't need to be there. No straight line solution. And this reminded me of this very apt quote, I think, which is really an important reminder to all of us in this room who are working together to try and reduce healthcare associated infections. For every complex problem, there's an answer that's clear, simple, and wrong. And if we have a complex problem, and I would suggest to you that the prominence of healthcare associated infections is a complex problem, then we probably need a complex solution. And the answer to that problem probably lies not in the hands of any one of us, but rather in the hands of all of us. If you disagree with that, you can go now, because that's my basic premise. I have some previous experience of this. This happened on my watch as the head of quality in the National Health Service in Scotland. Just before I got the job as Chief Executive, there was an outbreak of C. difficile at one of our hospitals. 54 people got infected. 8 died directly from the infection. At least another 8 had the C. diff as an associated symptom. And we decided that this wasn't going to happen again in our system. We started work to do something about it. We recognized immediately that there was no straight line solution, and we tried to figure out exactly what we could do. I'll step away. This is the 6-month period in question. You can see we weren't covering ourselves in glory in any of our hospitals really, but with some dedicated collaboration and some hard work, that reduced C. difficile cases in our whole country by 82%. That took us from mid-table mediocrity in European terms to being one of the safest places in Europe to get your care. We didn't do that, we didn't achieve that by setting a target or publishing some guidelines or writing one of the many chief executive letters that I was accustomed to writing, occasionally accompanied at the bottom by something that said, "Good luck with implementation." Well, it shouldn't come down to luck. We didn't laminate anything, because lamination is the enemy of improvement. For those of you who don't know, this is what we did instead. We tried to create a compelling vision that would pull everybody together to make Scotland the safest place in the world to get your care. The only place in the world where every hospital was participating in a national patient safety programme. We set some ambitious goals. We were going to reduce mortality in our hospitals by 20%. We were going to reduce harm in our hospitals by 30% within 5 years. People thought we were crazy. That's not possible, they would say. Turned out it was. We relied on the evidence, which we tested in our local context. We invited anybody who had better evidence to bring it forward, and we would implement that instead. We chose an improvement method, in our case the model for improvement. It's IHI's influence on our Scottish work. This is how I got to know IHI and they got to know me, because they were selected as our technical partner for this work. They taught us the model for improvement. We built knowledge and skills in our whole workforce, not just in the clinical staff, but in the administrative staff, in the facility staff, in our engineers. And we tried to build the biggest collaboration that we'd ever built. And that was what got us from where we were to 82% reduction in C. difficile. Our previous approach had been, as I said, to do all of this, get smart people in the same room at the same time, come up with the answer and tell the world to do it. If they didn't do it, we would tell them louder. It didn't work. Instead, we tried this different way, where of course there was a bit of intelligent design at the start, but then we got it out in the real world. And we got real teams in real hospitals to work together to test and modify and then to implement. And it doesn't matter what infection you chose. We were tackling C. difficile there for obvious reasons, given the tragedy that happened at the Vale of Leven Hospital. But we were also trying to tackle all of these other healthcare-associated infections, including MRSA. This is the write-up that Fran Griffin did of an IHI campaign to save 5 million lives, to reduce harm in 5 million instances. And I've just blown up part of that blue piece so you can read it. Because when you see the approach that successful organizations take to reducing infections, they have some things in common. Firstly, that there are multiple facets to it. There's no magic bullet, no quick fix, no one solution that solves everybody's problem every day. Secondly, you can see there, Fran says, these are not intended to be an all-inclusive list, but rather have been recommended by experts as the minimum necessary components. Second thing to notice, there are a mixture of clinical and facilities and engineering-based solutions. No one team is tasked with reducing MRSA. It's a combination of equipment, hand hygiene, decontamination, building design, proper care of devices, etc. But we found that if we worked at this consistently, then we start to see things that we just never dreamt were imagined, never imagined were possible, rather. I got this email from one of our physicians in intensive care unit in Paisley outside Glasgow. It's 1,500 days since our last central venous catheter-related bloodstream infection. We deem it to be like polio or smallpox, namely a disease of the past. They still haven't had a collapse at that hospital. It's 1,900 days now. Things that we'd have 2 a month in almost every ICU suddenly disappear as a result of multidisciplinary collaboration, as a result of intentional improvement. Things that never seemed possible are possible, indeed normal. If people aren't persuaded by the human benefits that can be secured by working on infections in a collaborative way, if people need a financial incentive, then there is one. So this is the ICU of that same doctor, Kevin Rooney. And you can see here he's just costed the efficiency saving just from reducing the length of stay in his ICU. And he's saving £1 million a year, it's about $1.5 million. If you multiply, we have 25 ICUs in Scotland, you multiply it up, this is a tiny sum. And the business case for working on this is incontrovertible. It's absolutely clear and well established. About a third of what healthcare spends has no clinical benefit. And a large chunk of that is harm, waste, and variation. And a lot of that harm, waste, and variation is caused by infections. Infections that if we all came together to work together, we could prevent. my friend and colleague Brent James, who's on the IHI board, says it's even more than that. Thinks it's probably 50% of all resource expenditure in hospitals is quality associated waste. If we can't get our heads together and persuade the chief financial officers in hospitals that this is a course worth following, then we need to do some work on our persuasion skills. And you can see just from this slide some of what might be possible. So I don't know if anybody's looked at this PHC4 report. It's done every year by the state of Pennsylvania. They look at all other hospitals. And they compare what happens to patients who get an infection compared to patients who don't. And you can see there's a significant, a 5-fold increase in mortality, a 4-fold increase in length of stay. There's a 5-fold increase in complications or risk of it, and a 3-fold increase in cost. Just imagine what the savings are that might be secured from all of that. The problem is that this is really hard. This is difficult work. Probably because there is no magic bullet. Probably because the solution doesn't lie in the hands of any one professional group. Just let me check. Is anybody understanding a word I'm saying? You're okay? Cool. I like it when you raise your glass. The Scotsman always likes that. Here's the other thing, that we assume that the level of that harm, and therefore the level of opportunity for us, is as reported. And as reported gets you about 1/3 of the way to the real incidence of harm. So most reports will say adverse events, about 10% of cases. When you go looking for adverse events, including infections, using tools like IHI's Global Trigger Tool, you find it's something like 3 times that. And we've done a number of studies now. You look at the remarkable similarity in the number of admissions with adverse events. Roughly 1 in 3 people. Again, what an opportunity for us to save lives and save money. So why is it so difficult? I have these 4 things in mind when I think about this. Firstly, it needs culture change and it needs a learning system. I'll explain what I mean by those 2 things because they go hand in hand. Thirdly, it involves change. The answer to tomorrow's problems isn't just more of the same. Someone had a wee accident there. I'm not accustomed to people high-fiving during my talk. I think that's never happened to me before. All right, let's talk about the culture, this cultural and learning system thing. IHI has worked with a host of organisations over many years to figure out what safe, reliable and effective care looks like. What do you need? What are the vital ingredients that you need to put in place if you're really going to secure safer care and fewer infections? And you can see there's a set of things there that are largely cultural. It's about people feeling safe to report harm or potential harm. It's about people taking accountability. It's about that teamwork thing that I've talked so much about and I'll come back to. And it's about people being able to negotiate their way to solutions. And then there's a set of things that we call a learning system. So is data openly shared? Are we applying the best evidence? Are we measuring the right things? And have we got this spirit of continuous learning? That we're never satisfied. Cast your mind back to that slide I showed with the 82% reduction in C difficile. You remember that? The ski slope thing? At every stage of that, people would come back to me and they would say, Derek, that's it now. That's the irreducible minimum. And I would go, let's see. And it never was. It's still not. There's always more to be done. And you have to approach things in that spirit of continuous learning. And then there's the whole kind of change is hard thing. We sometimes find a path and then we kind of get sidelined. You know, everybody has a plan. He's my favourite philosopher. But it's true. You know, we let setbacks derail us. We get sidelined by the latest regulation or legislative requirement or new measure that we have to correct, and this takes persistence. You'll get a few punches in the mouth if you really want to change anything that's important. The other thing that you better get that. Might be important. Maybe Mike Tyson. I wanted to introduce you to make this point to the Thomas W. Lawson, the world's first 7-masted schooner. Does anybody have any idea what the Thomas W. Lawson was the response to? Steam. The coming of the steamship. So their answer was more sail. The Thomas W. Lawson proved to be inherently unstable. It ran aground, there was loss of life. Ironically, it ran aground off the Isles of Scilly in the English Channel. Duncan will know where that is. But it didn't work. The answer to tomorrow's problems, the coming of the steam vessel, wasn't more of the same. The answer to our challenge around how do we come together to reduce infections in our hospitals and beyond is not more of the same. It's not to run faster on the hamster wheel. This is the time for us to get off and think about what we're going to do together. And as we're doing that, here's a few closing ideas from me that you can consider over the coming 24 hours. Someone has to take responsibility for removing barriers. That's what one of the things that John Cotter's work on how do you get change tells us. It's right at the, I've got an arrow here, I think. Right at the very bottom there. And that is, if you study these things, as some people have, that's where the real challenge to the change process comes. It's not in can we come up with a big idea or can we build that guiding coalition. No, it's in there about can we accelerate movement towards our vision or aim by ensuring that the network removes barriers. And instead, most of our networks are very skilled at putting barriers in our way. And someone has got to take responsibility for removing those barriers, and that's the leader's job. Everybody kind of thinks that the leader's job is to come up with all the answers, to have all the right answers. And actually, the leader's job is in reducing infections and in so many other areas, I'm absolutely sure, is to remove the barriers to progress. People out there have some of the solutions. And we have to act in the way in which we are created. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should use them in that proportion. And the job of the leader is not to have all of the right answers, but rather to have all of the right questions. And to figure out how we can make progress. How can we remove some of those barriers that are in the way? Anybody who's kind of studied leadership, and I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to this kind of stuff, has their favourite leadership guru, and mine is Warren Bennis. This is him. He passed away just about 12 months ago now. And he says 2 things I think are valuable lessons for us as we carry on this work. Firstly, that leadership is about getting people to want to do the right thing. Getting people to want to do the right thing. Not getting people to do the right thing, getting people to want to do it. It's about will. It's about the creation of a demand for change and improvement. And then he says, good leaders make people feel at the very heart of things, not at the periphery. Everybody feels that they make a difference. That's line of sight. So can we do that as we move this important work forward? Can you start to create some of that tomorrow? Can you start to build the team that will make the difference? 2 other things I'm suggesting you need to think about. Firstly, that there are a whole bunch of cultural norms in your way. People are not accustomed to architects and building engineers and facilities people and device manufacturers and clinical teams working together, they'll be suspicious. That's the prevailing culture. You need to change that. Anybody who's interested in how to change culture, I recommend Edgar Schein's work to you. He's the smartest man I know on culture change. And the key thing he says, your culture always helps and hinders problem solving. The good news is you get to choose which it is. And so I'm suggesting you choose a culture that helps you solve some of those problems. If you're stuck in terms of what you should do in your leadership role, I suggest these 5 simple behaviours. We at IHI studied most of the successful healthcare organisations in the United States, and we interviewed the leaders, 40 or 50 leaders. We found these 5 things in every single one of them. These were the 5 behaviours. If you're in any doubt about what to do one of these things. Tell the story of why. Remind people about why this is important. That this is about patients and families. This is about people's lives. Be person-centred in word and deed. Second, don't try and do this from your offices. I've been encouraged by how many times people have told me about getting out and speaking to people, how excited they are at the prospect of meeting some new people here over the next 24 hours. This is not work that's done from the headquarters or the hospital administration offices or the boardroom. This is work that's done at the point of care. Third, remember my Mike Tyson graphic. Stay relentlessly focused on doing the right things. Don't chase the magic bullet. It doesn't exist. You need to stay true to the cause for the long haul. Fourth, be transparent, be honest with each other, share your experiences, good and bad. And fifth, I'm not even sure boundarylessness is a word, but it is now because I've just said it. I often struggle to say it, but is it okay to say boundarylessness? So some of the solutions aren't in the room. Be humble enough to go find them from wherever they are. So, there is an old African proverb which summed up perfectly the message that I wanted to give you. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. There's a way to go to reduce or eliminate healthcare associated infections. My recommendation is you go together. Thank you for your attention. Sorry for interrupting your drinking. If anybody has got any pressing questions, I'd be happy to attempt to answer them. No questions? I'll hang around for a little while just in case you're too shy to ask me.